In a display of hypocrisy so bold it could come with a live DJ and popcorn, the Zimbabwean government has outdone itself once again, launching a culture month in May with fireworks and speeches, only to spend the same month mocking, erasing, and outright vandalizing the cultural foundations of the very people it claims to honor. Minister of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture launched the National Celebration of Heritage, while on the same podium of national governance, local government minister Daniel Garwe decided it was the perfect time to call the Ndebele kingdom defunct. That's right. The same government that just told us to respect culture is now bulldozing centuries of it like it's a pothole on Samora Machel Avenue. Enter Honorable Desire Moyo, the Nkulumane MP and cultural warrior who clearly had enough of the gaslighting. Like a true custodian of ancestral pride, Moyo stormed into parliament wielding not only words but truth, fire and a history book thicker than the cabinet's combined understanding of cultural dignity. He lashed out at Minister Garwe's tone-deaf dismissal of the Ndebele kingdom, reminding Zimbabwe that the spirit of Mzilikas, Nkulumane and Lobengula cannot be declared defunct by any minister, not even during a budget meeting or a culture month stunt. But Desire Moyo didn't stop there. With a voice echoing from the hills of Matopo to the chambers of parliament, he asked the most fitting viral question of the year. Minister Garu, ngabe udakwe yini na? Translation: what are you drunk on? Or are you drunk or just culturally tone deaf? Because if you can preach heritage in the morning and bury it by lunch, then we need to check what's in those ministerial teacups. And if you thought this was just a Ndebele issue, think again. Shona culture is also under siege. Once upon a time, not in fairy tales, but in the real historical records of Zimbabwe, Mambo meant king and Ishe meant chief. This was known. This was sacred. If you were going to the king's place, they would say you are going to the Bambo's place, Changamire's place. This was respected, but not anymore. The same government that can't stop waving Pan-African values in its speeches has conveniently rubbed out the royal weight of the word mambo. Because apparently acknowledging kings in 2025 Zimbabwe will lead to a full-blown monarchy overthrow. Someone tell them South Africa exists where kings still rule over culture, not ballots, and yet democracy lives on without needing a panic button. Yes, South Africa, not a monarchy, but a country where Zulu, Venda, Xhosa, Tswana, and Ndebele kingdoms are preserved with dignity and legal recognition. Their kings are respected, their cultures celebrated, and their histories institutionalized. Meanwhile, in Zimbabwe, we rename kings as chiefs, rebrand kingdoms as defunct, and call that unity. Spoiler alert, it's not unity, it's uniformity with a hammer. This is what the whites did to our country. We need to reverse this. It is one of the colonial legacies that has been carried on by a government led by black people. Moyo called out the shame for what it is: a blatant attack on cultural autonomy, disguised in the soft robes of patriotism. He demanded statues for King Lobengula and Queen Lozike, recognition for King Bulelani Lobengula Kakumalo, and national pilgrimage to Prince Nkulumane's burial site in South Africa. Because if Parliament can take junkets to Dubai, it can surely honor the bones of Zimbabwe's firstborn royalty. Meanwhile, the ministers celebrating Culture Month should perhaps pause their dance routines and ask themselves, which culture exactly are we celebrating? The sanitized version that fits a centralized political script, or the real, raw, lived cultures of Zimbabwe's diverse people, Shona and Ndebele alike, whose kings and queens have been reduced to footnotes. What the government is doing is not just offensive, it's historically abusive. It's the kind of cultural violence that rebrands identity as a rebellion. When the whites came into Zimbabwe, they rebranded every king a chief because they had a king or a queen at home. And because they considered Zimbabwe as an extension of the empire of the Queen of England, they couldn't stomach having a king in Zimbabwe. Should we follow the same ideals? Should we follow the same system? Or should we just revert to our culture? We are not saying away with a democracy, but we can have a democracy and have our culture being respected. South Africa is a good example. When Ndebele people revere King Lobengula, or when Shona people invoke the title of Mambo, it's not a political act, it's cultural survival. But somehow, in the twisted logic of Harare's elite, respecting traditional leadership is now seen as an existential threat to the republic. What are they afraid of? That if we embrace our kings, we will stop worshipping theirs. Let's call this what it is: a coordinated gaslighting campaign against indigenous pride. Zimbabwe's cultural leaders are being erased, diluted, renamed, and shelved, while the same hands behind the erasure hold press conference on cultural promotion. It's insulting, it's laughable, and it's not going unnoticed. People around Mnangagwa call Mnangagwa Munumtapa. For what? Oh, so now instead of a democracy, we now have a kingdom, and our king is now the president. Please. Desire Moyo just lit the cultural flame Zimbabwe desperately needed. His message was loud. We will not forget. We will not conform. And we will not let you whitewash our history with press releases. If the government truly believes in unity, then let that unity include truth. Let it honor the Ndebele kingdom and the Shona monarchies with the dignity they deserve. Anything less is not nation building, it's nation bleaching. For more truth bombs and ancestral fire, subscribe to Zimwaves TV, where we drag hypocrisy, roast injustice, and keep our culture loud, proud, and defiantly alive. Zimwaves TV, not defunct, just dangerous to the agenda.